like the internet and technology is not my friend this year. I was told that there were cutouts in the audio of the last video. So basically, what I said is the barley is not a beeb yet, and for reasons I delineated in the first video, I feel like the scripturally correct thing to do is wait until wave sheaf before I determine whether or not we have barley to offer. So I have had the question for those who understood what I was saying. I have had the question, what about Passover? Do we keep Passover? And what if the barley is not a beeb at wave sheaf? There's a wide gap this year between Passover and wave sheaf. Wave sheaf, I believe, is the next to the last day in the week. So I want to just add some things here and say to you that the difficulty we have in our generation, I don't believe that the people who this was written to had the difficulty that we do. The difficulty that we have in our generation is we do not have the tribes of Israel living on the land, farming the land. That's the difficulty. On my property, I know where the best drainage is. I know where the shade-loving plants grow the best. I know I know where to plant according to my property. I know my property. Because the areas that we're checking are basically no man's land these days, farmers would not plant wild barley. We have to rely on Elohim to provide us our wild barley. Since no man is in care of the property, we can't receive reports from someone who knows the property whether or not which end of his field will be ripe first, when he feels like it will be ripe, how his land responds to the barley that's planted on it. We don't have any of this stuff to go by. And that's the difficulty that we deal with in our generation as I go out and I search for locations. I don't know what's under the barley. I don't know whether it's sandy, clay, rocky. I don't know because by the time I'm out looking, it's tall and you can't see the earth. So there's no way in my opinion, even if Elohim would allow me to predict, and maybe this is why he told me I was never to predict, I was only to report. I don't know. So even if I could predict, I couldn't do it in an educated manner. Some of this stuff we're really going to have to just take by faith. We're just going to have to wait to wave sheaf and see if there is a barley omer or not. I am. You may choose not to. That's fine. I don't determine the calendar. I tell you what's going on in the land of Israel. I try to give it to you real time. I try not to waste your time. This year I didn't show you a bunch of stuff that was going to come to nothing. I only focused on the stuff that had real possibility. And I have to say, like I've said about this area before, it's not out of the running. It's not out of the race yet. But I can't predict because I'm not the farmer of that land and I don't know what lies underneath. And I can't even begin to give you an educated guess of how it's going to respond to the warm that's coming over the next days. So that's just what I wanted to cover with you. Just popping in here just to say we have some difficulties that the people that this was written to for us that we don't have the comfort of knowing what they would have known. And so I'm going to go ahead and keep the Passover. I'm going to just have faith that it'll be ready in time. And fortunately for us in this generation, since we are literally not slaying the Passover lamb, we can do a reset. We can do a reset. If the barley is not ripe in time, we have not missed Passover. We just do it again in the next month because we're not offering in the temple. There is no temple. And not only that, this is really for us, besides keeping the correct Sabbaths, this really for us is to know the prophetic timing of what is going to come. The calendar is the prophetic vehicle that brought Messiah and gave us Messiah. It was the prophetic vehicle that told the timing of the destruction of both temples. And there's still prophecy to be fulfilled. So, yes, the feasts are very important, but getting the timing is equally important, that we know that we're having the right timing. And, whatever comes in the future falls on that feast date. We know we have the right timing. Okay, guys, I hope that offered you some measure of reasonable consideration, why we would have in our situation to wait till after Passover to know. And I just want to encourage you with one more thing. One more thing. I was just studying about this and talking about this today. It's not Passover that causes us to be cut off. The scripture says it's unleavened that causes us to be cut off. The only scripture that says that we are cut off because of a feast is unleavened bread. So it's really important to get unleavened bread correct. I think it's Numbers 33. He talks about getting the leaven out of your house, and that you eat unleavened bread. And if you don't eat unleavened bread, you will be cut off. So Passover is important. I'm not diminishing Passover, but I think equally, and for the sake of really wanting to keep something in our day and time that we can actually keep and actually do, every one of us can eat unleavened barley for that week. Okay? So from that perspective, Passover is important, so is unleavened bread. And we don't want to miss unleavened bread, that's for sure. We can do Passover again, but we certainly don't want to miss unleavened bread. Shabbat Shalom.